Good morning. So today I'd like to talk about ethics because I feel like part of the reason humanity got in the situation it is right now is that nobody has been applying the thought of ethics. They've been applying the thought of a so-called democracy, superiority, white privilege, white supremacy, other races being the exact same. And ultimately, we've gone away from a society of skill-based employees, and we now just have employees who are hired because they're somebody's buddy. Now, the problem with that is that it doesn't always get you a skilled employee. Also, I've noticed that there's been a lot of white supremacist families that I've worked with. So I'm not just working with one or two races, I'm working with like 12 races all at the same time, constantly. It's aggravating and it's not necessary. So when alien technology is shared, it is shared for the good of everybody. This is blue. This is me. That's back during COVID. So at first, when COVID came out, naturally I got vaccinated and self-isolated because I believed it was for the betterment of society. But then I realized that rich people were just doing what they wanted. And the government was definitely doing what they wanted. Justin Trudeau was flying around like a deranged bird. And the police became increasingly more Gestapo-like over the years. And instead of being there to serve and protect, they're just there to serve and to murder. Like, no, I can't be agreeing with this. So when I say that we should hire skilled people, it's because housing would get processed better. I've known at least 3 white males that lived in housing and had a 2-bedroom and had other people living with them and paying rent. And of course they weren't part of the subsidy, nor did the person claim they had it. And then there are single mothers who couldn't get units because those people had 2 bedrooms and those people lived by themselves. Or the person they lived with wasn't legitimately paying. So when you claim tax dollars are being wasted by social services programs, well, it's the abuse of the program that wastes them, actually. So meet blue. So this is part of a cooking thingy I set up, and so this is how it used to be. Now, this is the correct measurements table. Now, I do have this. I'd like to get a clearer picture of it or even go scan it because the writing's so tiny, but it tells you the difference in temperatures between Fahrenheit and Celsius. It also tells you conversion methods for metric. So it goes metric, exact conversion millimeter, and metric standard measure millimeter, which is slightly different. So the first one is 0.6 ml. The second one 0.5. I standardly use the 0.5. So I guess I use the standard system. For the most part. I would have to say I do. So it also goes into pans, which is conventional inches to metric centimeters. It has cups, and then your milliliters. So, for instance, 250 milliliters is 1 cup. We have conventional measures in ounces, as well as casseroles, United States, casseroles, Canada. So, casseroles. Oh, I said they've got a casserole measuring. Okay, I didn't even read down that far before. I've never realized there was a special one. So here, we've got refrigeration. You know what? There is another way that I can show you this. So I will. Just give me one little second. Okay. So this, and if you have the ability to screenshot, most of us do nowadays, I'll hold it there for a second. So this is also cited correctly. Giving people credit for their work is very important. So refrigeration must have a temperature below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. At these temperatures, bacteria may still reproduce, but very slowly. Therefore, food can only be stored in a refrigerator for a couple of days before it must be used or discarded. So if you find you're getting illnesses and you don't know why, and you're eating food that's been in your fridge more than a couple of days because you're poor, my recommendation is to freeze your food right away, anything you don't eat, and then use your microwave. Most people have a microwave. And if you don't, well, you can always heat it up in a frying pan or in your oven or even in a bowl of warm water. Make sure the lid's still on so the water doesn't get in your food, right? Freezing. Bacteria is dormant in frozen foods. However, the longer food is kept in the freezer, the more likely it is to develop freezer burn, which means the quality of the meat deteriorates. So it gets a little white, frosty stuff. It doesn't taste quite the same. Food should be stored on shelves at least 6 inches away from the floor so that it can be mopped easily without touching the food. Keep all cleaning agents separate from your food. Now, I know sometimes at home, if I'm drinking, I might not pay as much of attention, but I guarantee you I'm just cooking for myself those days. Thawing food. Thawing food in a plastic or metal insert in the refrigerator. You may also thaw foods under continuous cold running water of 21 degrees Celsius or 7 degrees Fahrenheit, or 70, sorry, not 7, sorry, my mistake, for no more than 2 hours. Cooking foods. Heat foods to the appropriate internal cook temperature. And I'm going to print up a list of all the different ones I can think of. So we reheat leftovers at 77 degrees Celsius or 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Holding and serving food. Maintain hot holding temperatures at 60 degrees Celsius, 140 Fahrenheit, and above or cold temperatures of 4 Celsius or 40 below. Do not mix new product with old. I sometimes break this law on a personal level, but yeah, it's better if you don't, but yeah, I sometimes do. But not at work. Not if I was doing it in large groups. So if you're cooking for like a community center or big family meals and stuff, I wouldn't do that. But I'm talking about me eating here. And I think I have a little bit different DNA because of the genetic engineering. So I have a little bit different of a body tolerance. But we're going to stick to this for when we work in a restaurant or we serve people or we even have a big family or community event. We want to save this idea. We want to follow the food safety. And the reason we want to do that is so that if you decide to go write the food safety exam, you know how to do it correctly. So we're not going to use any bad habits that I might have developed over the COVID boringness. Cooling leftovers. Okay, wait. Sorry. Thawing food. We did that. So you can only thaw your food for up to 2 hours. You can also thaw your food in the fridge. It just takes longer, but it does work. Cooking foods. Heat foods to the appropriate internal cook temperature and reheat leftovers, so we read that one. Holding and serving food. Maintain hot holding temperatures at 60 degrees Celsius or 140 Fahrenheit and above or cold temperatures of 4 Celsius, 40 Fahrenheit. Do not mix new product with old. Discard after 2 hours of being held at room temperature. Cooling leftovers. Spread food into clean, shallow metal containers over an inch ice bath. Stir periodically during cooling. Cool to 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit within 2 hours. Then cool to 4 Celsius or 40 Fahrenheit within 4 hours. Label and date all leftovers. Use leftovers as within 4 days. Heat to 77 or 170 Fahrenheit. You can also freeze your leftovers, which is something I do quite frequently. And the reason you would do this is because maybe there's going to be a time when you are incapacitated. I just recently had an injury on my hand, and that came in handy. Or maybe you're going to have somebody over out of nowhere that all of a sudden needs something to eat. Maybe it's you. Maybe you got off the bus from work, you're tired. So proper hand washing techniques. So here we go. So, wash your hands frequently with soap and water. It's the best way to reduce the spread of germs. Wet your hands with warm running water. Add soap and scrub for 15 to 20 seconds. Wash backs, thumbs, between fingers, and under the nails. And that's always hard. I've got to cut mine is what I'm going to do. Rinse off soap. Dry off your hands with a clean towel. Turn off tap with a towel. Pretty simple. What you need to know about COVID. Okay, well, I think we've all, at this point, you should know about COVID. So, although I'll let you screenshot it, I'm not reading it. So, the object of food safety is to provide a food culture of food safety with a reduced risk of foodborne illness. That's the synopsis. I'm going to give you a synopsis. So it comes with recipes. I think what I'll do is I'll just hold up the recipe. And the reason I'm holding it sideways is because Chromebooks are that way. So you can easily rotate it if you screenshot it. You can go into Google Photos and choose the rotate option. It looks like a little moving thing. So these are recipes that I did on Google Docs over the last couple months or whatever, even year. I like this one. I took McDonald's idea because I liked the idea of a chicken sandwich burger. And so, anyway, it's got egg, it's got Swiss chard, it's got a chicken patty, and of course, English muffin, and a piece of cheese I believe it does have on it. Now this I liked because you can make a bigger meal with this. This is just a hash brown with peppers and cheese and egg. So the idea is, since it's breakfast time, I'm just going to go through breakfast foods. I'm not going to go through everything all at once because there's a lot in here. But I've been also working on developing a lesson plan because I wanted to do something more structured mathematically. And I know I often talk about algebra during my conversations about politics because it's highly important. And so I feel like maybe I'm going to start off doing some mathematics. I've got the grade, I do believe it's a grade mathematics 11, college 11 rather. Either way, I think what I'm going to do is develop a small lesson plan and try to start doing little short clips on mathematics. I mean, I don't understand why we would have taken this out of school to the extent we have, but let's put it back. And let's put it back to the point that people can comprehensively use it. Because recognizing pattern behaviors can prevent tragedies. So this is kind of from the old days. And it's bacon, grilled cheese, mayonnaise, and white bread. Remember I said I was going to try to stick to breakfast. I know some people get upset. So this is, of course, this is fish cakes. And this is another thing that I like to make in bulk. My boss, Parker Beals, gave me that recipe, or shared it with me rather. I've altered it since, but I still have his original recipe too. And I do cite his stuff when I use his recipes. If it's a direct recipe and it hasn't been altered in any way. Usually if I add more than 2 spices, I consider that a significant change. Much like with DNA. If you add 3 strands of DNA, you're getting a very different type of being than 1 strand or 2 strands. Anyway, so I'm not going to show you this right now. I think I'm going to do a project later with this. I really want to see if maybe I can just go down to the library and actually scan everything all at the same time, because the quality, like the visual quality be better, it'd be easier to group. Anyway, that kind of thing. So, this is something. Now, I wonder if we should change the name, but anyway, this is deviled eggs. So, it has your white, your yolk, which is mixed with your spices, which is usually, anyway, and then your paprika on top, which makes it red. Although right now, maybe we don't want deviled eggs. I don't know. I still like deviled eggs. So this is really easy. Just like, this is another way to make a meal stretch, scrambled eggs. You can make it pretty low cost. You can make it with pretty low heat. You can even technically make it in hot water if you need to. You can use hot water in place of oil if you have heart problems. I've added banana pieces and I've added 1 serving of banana and 1 serving of grapes. And, well, there's too much bacon. This was quite a few years ago now. Now this is traditionally what they call over easy. And then, of course, I've got some pepperoni here. Canadians are all about being innovative, and if need be, if it's not there, we'll substitute. At least the poor ones will. Like, hey, well, what else we got to put on there, right? And then we do it. Same with the bread. You'll notice that these are hot dog buns, and then there's some hash browns. There's nothing fancy about those particular hash browns. They don't have anything added to them. Now this is a cheese, ham, and pepper omelet. And so this is kind of the same thing, of course, over easy. Maybe that's a better quality one, but still over easy. This is a recipe of roasted potatoes that my boss Parker gave me. Now I have a similar one, but mine I do with garlic, and his did not have garlic. So there's 2 recipes, they look very similar, but they're not. And when I do his, I cite it, and I haven't done that yet. I haven't gotten to the side dishes really too much. Bruschetta. Or quiche, rather. Broccoli quiche. Broccoli quiche with mushrooms and cheese. And egg, of course. So there is your dessert. Cornmeal poppy seed muffin. Okay, so when I say hired skilled workers, I mean hired people with food safety, and then don't be angry at them. And by the way, there's no S in my last name, so I'm going to see if I can get them to correct this, but there we go. Anyway, either way, thank you. They were very good trainers. This is a minor thing, okay? I'm not trying to shut down your business over a last name. I do want to correct it, like I'd like it to be correct, but I'm not trying to cause you a financial hardship. They did a very good job at this course, and I would recommend it. I'd love to see the province provide free courses like that, and more frequently than they used to be, and more online. What you can do online is great. Do as much as you can. So I also did a Microsoft Word certification. During the pandemic, I was on CERB at the time, and I wanted something to do with my mind, and I had all these other things going on. Now, this is from, I guess I would call it Happier Days. So I will read it to you. It's from Malin Buisevich of NovaScotiaHealth.ca. To me, Cerise. I love it. Cerise, love the newsletter, love the name of the program. I will call you tomorrow so we can connect this week. Malin. Malin Boisevit, BSc, OT, OTRG, and S, Occupational Therapist, Recovery and Integration Services, Mobile Outreach Street Health Housing First. So it was also given to Miranda. She was my MOSH intensive case manager, and she since moved to Ontario to do some work with Indian Affairs. Malin Boisevit moved to take over someone's maternity leave, and I think she's still there in Quebec. So I don't have what I said as a reply. Sorry, that's in an account that I can't get access to. Ever since they came up with the add a security phone feature, it's actually caused me more harm than good because it tends to get me locked out of accounts that are actually mine. So this came from the stepping stone, and like the amount of times I did portfolio, guys, I know how to do a portfolio, okay? If anything, why don't you let me run a program teaching people how to design their portfolio and in different types of portfolio. Maybe you want to have a portfolio, a digital one, which is what I want. I prefer mine to be digital. I prefer to pass someone a chip or plug it in or think it to them. So this is from 2015. And this is from the Black Educators Association about a bursary I was trying to get to help me through my studies when I was taking social services, which used to be human services. I am writing today on behalf of Cerise Winter. Cerise was a first-year student in my writing skills class last year. Cerise's proficiency with APA formatting and research papers really stood out. Her attention to detail and ability to exactly follow the sometimes seemingly arbitrary rules of APA formatting was a skill set I have not seen at this level in many students. She has exceptional ability in written communication, and it says regard Scott Campbell, M.E.D., Faculty School of Health and Human Services, NSCC, Kingstead Campus, 236 Belter Street, Kemptville, Nova Scotia, B4N 0A6. So, I'm not going to tell you any more, but this was a good course. I got a lot of my resilience from this course, but I also was misled to believe that they wanted to help all humans and they just wanted to help some, so that's a concern. Now this is the feedback letter I got from a Judy Sear. And all the year that I worked with Judy, me and her just really didn't get along. She was very racist. I did not like her. This would have been Thursday, April 23rd, 2015 at 1:30 p.m. I'm going to give you some feedback on the reflection paper you handed in past the deadline. When you gave it to me, you acknowledged that it was unacceptably late. Even though you had that awareness, you completed the assignment anyway. It's really too bad that you didn't get it together just a bit sooner because you are quite capable academically. Well, it's really too bad that I lived in a society where I was being abused. I ended up homeless. I ended up having a conflict with my education. And the perpetrators running around getting drunk and we're bragging about it. You see, that's what's wrong with Canada. That's why the woman wanted to take over. As you know, however, and this was a boomer, from our exploration and beginner helper, being an effective helper is so much more involved than simply knowing how. As I have said repeatedly in class, effective helping is a lifestyle choice on so many levels. It is quite apparent to me that you have much in your life to deal with and to come to terms with. Well, the problem was I was living in a town that was all racist. Now, when you recognize the signs of racism and genocide, you don't write someone a letter dashing their dreams. You instead report it to the International War Crimes Committee, who should have been doing something on their own anyway. They should have been investigating, and who knows, maybe they are. Until you do this, you will be at considerable risk to yourself if you immerse yourself in the helping profession. Well, the problem is I actually would have been better off doing that as a career. What I did was I took the skills and tried to help people directly on the street, and sometimes I did. And sometimes I made things a whole bunch worse. If I was in a structured environment, I would have been part of a team. And at some point I was. Certainly when I was doing the MOSH program, I was part of a team. And as part of a team, somebody would have been like, hey, sirs, why don't you go outside and take a break and rethink if you really want to, because you can't say that. Sometimes it would be just like, hey, you can't say that. Why don't you go outside? And it worked, because I would. And that's a better way to split up a fight than it is to have parliament where everybody's swearing at each other. Why are you swearing at each other? Are you not grown adults? I don't pay for you to go swear at each other. Come on, if I wanted that, I'd go to the bar on a Friday night and let's do it. Drunk people swear at each other. Maybe not idiots, just two drunk people swearing at each other. But whatever the case, you're not at a bar, you're at work, and we don't swear in parliament. I'm sorry. Sorry we hurt your feelings, Justin, but we're going to have to draw the line somewhere. There's no cursing in parliament. Okay? You are capable academically, there's no question there, but you need time to work through a lot of life issues before you will be ready for the workplace. You mentioned volunteering or working in center in your paper. Okay, so in 2015 it was acknowledged that I wasn't, this woman didn't believe I was capable of work. Certainly I did actually get injured in the workplace trying to take those human services skills into the construction, which is basically male-dominated, alpha male, we're going to bash everybody in the head generations. Yeah. And then there was masonries. The electricians were a little better. You mentioned volunteering or working in a center in your paper. Okay, so she doesn't think I should work or volunteer. I actually was doing much better when I was volunteering. I had something to focus on, I had a sense of purpose, and I didn't have to work full time. Because I wasn't able to at that point. I'm going to suggest you need to focus of your needs and taking care of yourself at this point in your life. Okay, well, you know what? I actually did try to put this into action. But the police decided to tell me, people hate you here. You should leave or they'll kill you. I'm like, but it's your job to stop people from killing each other, even if you don't like the person that they're trying to kill. Weird Canada. Let's go back to the Canada where the police actually did their job and left their bias right the heck at home. I don't think putting yourself in that kind of stressful environment would be healthy or good for you right now. You are too close to your own experience in an abusive relationship to be of help to others right now. You need to heal yourself first before you can be of use to others. Well, I think in actuality, what would have been better for others is if both provinces, that be Ontario and Nova Scotia, had taken seriously my many reports of human trafficking and the connection between the Hells Angels, the Bloods, the Crips, and North Preston's Finest. I think that if I had been allowed to be on a committee that would have been able to address, okay, what do we do when somebody's kidnapped out of jurisdiction? Do we just leave them suffer? And apparently, according to Justin Trudeau, we do, but that's ridiculous. He's like a pirate. You come into someone's house, you take their family, you put them with another family, you make them have kids, you're like, well, that's your new family now. Okay, Jessica Trudeau. Hey, for real? Nobody do that to him, okay? You will remember, I'm sure, the weekend you made the decision to drop out of the program. You emailed your faculty on Monday morning to announce that you were leaving. Within hours, you reversed your decision. Yeah, it's called reevaluating it, and I was well within my legal time frame. A couple hours doesn't mean you should change a whole lesson plan. In my observation, the quality of your work, your attendance in class, and your commitment to group partners went into decline after that. I know you have awareness of this because you made reference to things you needed to change in your paper. Yeah, but here's the thing. You knew I was being abused. You are a faculty advisor for a human services course. Theoretically, you should have been able to get me the help I needed to deal with that situation, like maybe providing a letter to the courts saying how it affected my educational experiments. Maybe a letter to the police stating that you recognize signs of abuse. Like, these are things you could have actually done. Instead, you whined about me having dirt under my fingernails when you could have just told me, and by the way, that was from picking berries, and it wasn't dirt, it was stained. And also, you didn't have to make it the whole class's issue, but yeah, you did. And your commitment to group partners went into decline after that. Well, my commitment to group partners didn't go in decline because of the event with Lawrence. It went into the decline because they would be gossiping about me and giggling about me and making fun of me right within earshot. And I got tired of listening to it. So I preferred to work alone until I was ready to almost be finished and then get together with them because I wanted to see them last because they were all in it for the money and they told me that. Well, we're only here because our parents made us to. Great. Wonderful. Sometimes the energy it takes to deal with these life issues is more draining of resources than we anticipate or plan. Well, in reality, if I would have been able to stay, like I was living in Kentville, it doesn't matter how I got there. At that point, I'd been a resident for quite some time. I paid taxes there. I worked there. Why the hell aren't the police doing their job there? Why the hell didn't the mayor intervene? Like, my whole entire family's lived in that community for centuries, and the best I get told is I gotta put up with these highly criminal thugs that everybody knows is a thug, but everybody's too chicken to do anything about. The only thing I regret about the Valley is not doing something sooner about you. And I hope you're learning that it's not okay to sell human beings. So, this letter was enough to make me decide not to continue, which I didn't. And I just have to wonder, could I have saved lives if I would have continued on this path? And would have ended up volunteering within the community? Maybe I would have been able to find a better way than Twitter to update the government and community on the atrocities that the poor were suffering through. You might want to give some thought to adjusting time frames so that you can give yourself the time you need to work through some of the issues that have plagued you throughout this year. Sometimes small adjustments can make a big impact. Okay, so that's actually where I'm at right now. Like, I'm trying to take care of myself and people are judging me because I'm not currently working. And if I dare say any work I've ever done, or the fact that I've suffered multiple physical injuries, both as a consequence of work, but even as being physically assaulted by the alpha males at work, because once they decide you're bad, they're going to attack you every chance they get. And to be honest, they were already attacking without a just cause. Welcome to Canada, where we can't afford to give our residents teeth. We can afford billions to fly around a world like a deranged bird. Where the people who pay the most percentage of their pay in taxes, because that's what it boils down to. How much take-home do you get? We don't get to write off our lunch. We don't get to write off our cigarettes or hookers or any of those crazy things like the governments of them do. WHMIS and occupational health and safety. They don't seem to do this a lot anymore. It's like they take you in a room, they sit there, they fill out the forms for you, and then you sit you back on the floor like Canadian Linen did. Well, how do you know I'm going to put this into practice if you didn't even sit in the room while I read the book? What are you doing at your desk? I seen you were eating, but can you take a break from eating for a while and maybe share some food with the other employees? So one of the horrible things that Canadian Linen did was they ordered pizza, but the pizza was only for the union staff. I'm like, just fucking give everybody a piece of pizza. Sorry, they're up there. Sorry, I'm swearing. Anyway, WHMIS, and this was in the year 2012. So this would have been in the year 2012 as well. So 2012 and 2012, so food safety and food and women's and OHS. And the other food safety hasn't run out yet. It was in 2019. So this is Earl Ilsley. And Earl Ilsley had this to say: we had the opportunity to have Cerise work with us at Access Center in Kentville. I found Cerise to be a faithful and very organized individual. We had a number of projects going on at one time, and often had to shift in different directions due to outside factors. I found her to be able to meet challenges with a positive attitude. She was responsible for coming up with the final product with limited supervision and seemed to grasp the purpose of the projects and do what needed to be done to carry out the project. I am very pleased with her work and attitude to the workplace. If you have further questions, I would be glad to discuss the work Cerise was involved in. Earl Ilsley. Now, he was from Kentville's Access, Nova Scotia. I did a series of pamphlets on resources in the community, and one of those resources was for seniors as well as abused women, and the likes of me, I can't remember the third one at the moment. We also did a database of all the resources in Kings County: soup kitchens, churches, medical, lawyers, police, and we put it all together. So this is how quickly things change. Lawrence was the one who decided to be violent and attack me. But instead of Lawrence being punished correctly so that he knew not to do it again, they punished me. For years and years I was screamed at, yelled at, called a coward for not leaving. It's not like I was leaving one person. I was leaving a whole community because the whole community thought it was okay to be racist. As long as it wasn't happening to them, they thought that should be okay. Transcripts. Okay, so I'm pretty pissed off at my home province, Ontario. I spent thousands of dollars in education. Just last year, I finished paying off one of my student loans. I'm still paying off another one. Guess where that money goes? Your crap province. Your crap province left me here to die because your province has become super racist Hitler-y. But back in my day, I took global history. I had a 96 in global history. I had a pass in communications, 93 in computer fundamentals. Yeah, so see, we had computers in the 90s. And they were a lot harder to operate than they are today. They didn't just do things because you asked them to. We had to work with the computers, and we should get back to that. That's why they were mad. I remember sitting up coding for hours and hours and hours, as opposed to just expecting to be able to flick a switch. Although I do appreciate the advancement the computers have made. So that would have been the year 2009, 2010. In the year 2012, 2013, it gave me my credits. I don't know why I did it this way, because those courses were taken in Ontario, and I should have an Ontario transcript, but for some reason, Ontario thinks I'm giving it more money. No! So, the mathematics listed here was 77, so these must have been breaking up into semesters, because there's 3 semesters in Ontario, and science was 89. Now, in 2014, communications was 85, career skills was 90, and mathematics was 84. Okay, so I'm going to correct this because the global history, the communications, the computer fundamentals, and the mathematics and science 5, all of those things, the science for those were from Ontario, and there should also be, global history's in there. I got a 96, but the problem is that the dates are wrong, because in reality, I finished that in 93. So why is it saying 96? Or why is it coming up in 2009, 2010? And that's how long Nova Scotia is withheld between Nova Scotia and Ontario, charging ridiculous fees and having all these hoops that don't make sense to the general public. You can't get a lawyer to just help you with that kind of thing. And ultimately, they've been able to keep me hostage in labor jobs, which caused me severe physical injury and psychological injury. Anyway, moving right along. And I think we'll just end here, because we did a morning, a morning thing. So, in 2007, I took Adult Learning Program Level 3. In 2010, I took Level 3. In 2012, I took Level 3. In 2014, I took Level 4. Why? I only needed 6 credits to graduate when I left Ontario, but you know what? It might have saved my life, all that taking all those courses, because if I was just running around without a job sooner, or I might have just died sooner at work because the jobs are so aggressively violent. So, in 2014, I graduated with honors for the Adult Learning Program Level 4. So that's the NS High School Graduation Diploma for Adults. Adult Learning Program, I did Workplace Hazard Material Information System, WHMIS, Occupational Health and Safety. The reason I say we need digital copies and ways to put them on our own person is people have been stealing people's copies of things to force them into jobs they don't want. So this also on the back, because this is a different side of the transcript, so this is a different transcript, is food service basics. Now, I didn't complete this, I withdrew because of the way I was mistreated, but I did finish the academic part. So technically speaking, I did the course part, I just didn't do the placement. And it might be something in the future, if there was different staff at NSCC, that I'd be more than willing to revisit. So, I have academic social services program. So I've got 1 year of that. One undeclared program. Can't remember what that might be. So we did sociology, which I got 73, introduction to psychology, I got 67, personal awareness and growth, 86, personal insight, 69. So I took longer than the other students to get higher on that. Really, I did. Intro to helping apps, so that's teaching you how to counsel people. And then developing psychology, related subject, was 74. Related subjects was a fail. See, so like I fail at things. Beginner helper was a 62, which is a continuation on helping apps. Professional practice, which is something I think we need to maybe get the GOP and stuff doing, as well as the police department and the doctors and lawyers. Helping applications, writing skills 2, intro to grant proposal writing, intro to service learning. So grant proposal is supposed to be how you can ask for funding. I tried writing to get funding for a project. It never worked. Another girl tried that was white and it did work. So I'm glad she got her project going. But I think that I have no problem doing research and stuff, but I would like to perfect better the grant proposal thing and make it easier for people with disabilities to be able to coordinate their efforts for programs, because I think that a lot of people with disabilities have good ideas and should be allowed to share those ideas or even be the one running it at some point, just like everybody else can. They're disabled, not idiots. Idiots are the people who keep throwing garbage in the tree over there that thinks the tree is eating a bag of chips. Is the tree hungry? The tree said it just wants nutrients. Doesn't want no chips. Yeah, so then writing skills was 91, and intro to grant proposal was a pass, and then intro to service learning was an 80. And what service learning was that was a volunteer project where you went, and in my particular place, there was a shelter they were doing in town called the Arm or something. And what we did is we sanded it, we painted it. I also washed it down with acetone, which made me very, very sick. So there wasn't enough ventilation, and that actually caused me a conflict, because when I said something about it, one of my instructors said, well, you gotta worry about the greater good. I'm like, yeah, but you're not cleaning with acetone for the greater good. Get a grip on reality. So this is my copy that I take with me to interviews and stuff. And this is the most up-to-date. So it has, for instance, it has that I passed my service learning project. And it has the criminal record check was complete, yes. Nonviolent, yes. Suicide intervention, yes. Emergency first aid, yes. Immunization from completion milestone, yes. Occupational health and safety, yes. Workplace hazardous material information system, yes. Portfolio development, and that was done as well. Now, on this particular one, it says that it was in progress, but I can guarantee you that is completed, and somewhere around here in this pile of magical papers is a copy of that one too. Hence the reason I'm like, why are you killing all these trees when we got digital technology, and how can we get to the point where I can just pull my resume up my arm and be like, look, my resume. And I don't like the idea of resumes, and here's why. I think that the idea of a resume, people get a lot of personal and private information about you. They got your name, they got your address, they got your phone number, they got your email, and then you go there and they ask you all these invasive questions, and they're playing some weird game of like employee roulette. In my opinion, we should switch back to what do you say we give you a try at the job and we put you on a trial periods. Let's just switch back to trial periods. So look, another recipe if you're interested for oats. And I'm not going to show you any more recipes right now, I don't believe, because I think I've done enough. I really do. But I did want to show you this one more thing. This is when I was working at, remember I told you I did this Dignity Meals program? So this was when I got to work in a professional kitchen, because you guys only get to see me in my home kitchen, and there's a difference between how you would cook in a professional kitchen and a home kitchen. I'm hoping to get the opportunity again to go back to cooking in the kitchen, and in fact I did have a couple of jobs that sent me a request. I'm just waiting for things to calm down a little bit. I'm tired of people on the streets thinking they can just hit people because they're a different color and think they can get away with it. Okay, and I will leave it at this recipe here. And then I will let you go, do whatever it is you do. And I just want to let the government know, why can't you just print 3D teeth? Didn't you get enough money off before with your crap? Because we're getting tired of guys knocking our teeth out and it costing us thousands of dollars. Why don't you make him pay for it? He knocked them out. He can pay for them. So we've got recipe by Parker Blaine, and I was the cook. So I just wanted to show you, this is how you do a citation. See on the side here? And there's the cornbread. Now, this is in black and white, but I do have a yellow copy of it, so I might fix this later. I should say yellow, but I mean, what I mean is I have a copy of it. I know, you think if they were genetically modify you, they'd grow you back some teeth. If you weren't such perverts, you would have grown back teeth with the eyes and then change DNA. I'd say thought for next time, but if you experiment on me again without my consent, it's not going to go good for you. Anyway, people, a little bit of humor, a little bit of yelling at the Prime Minister, you know, keep him on his toes and remind him that he is the Prime Minister of a country, so he can't just be running around thinking he can do whatever he wants, because that's not actually true. Then you would be unemployed like everybody else. Alright? So, this is how you do tray bacon. Look, America, Canadian bacon is just bacon. We get it in big boxes from places like Larson. Which is kind of like, yeah, I don't want to get into the ethics on me eating bacon, but I'm going to be going towards not kidnapping a scientist, but maybe getting some scientists to help make it so that we can maybe print food or something like that. Maybe I can coordinate and get together with the scientists, share some recipes, and maybe they can help me perfect making this plant-based thing or something, or printing it. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. I'd love to work with a scientist. I've never had a chance yet, except for in class, and I was delighted to work with a scientist there. I also would like to thank my law teacher, Mr. Marviganis. I would not like to thank Justin Trudeau. You caused a lot of chaos being bad. Go back to being good. Canadians, stop tormenting each other. It is not helping. If you don't like Judgment Day, don't do things so offensive to God that God felt the need to come back. And if you don't believe in God, fine. How will you believe in aliens or higher power? Or just Mother Nature herself has had enough. Like, every time I turn around, you guys literally just throw your garbage on the ground. That's not helpful. Second of all, other species have cures for stuff, so whenever you're ready to stop being idiots, or not nice to each other rather, whenever you're ready to stop making fun of each other every day and maybe get some stuff done, let me know. In the meantime, I guess we just watch one TV all make fun of each other? Wow. So welcome to humanity. Marsupials, apes, I know what you're thinking. So this is an example of the correct internal cook temperature. Remember I said I was going to print more of these for you? This came from the Canadian government's website. Maybe I'll cross-reference later with the EU, but I think there's a standard across the board now. I know there is for Red Seal chefs, and when I was doing that, that was part of my business plan to become a Red Seal chef. So, having said that, we have done the, I want to show you this. Because I'm gonna let you screenshot it. I remember I showed you the colored picture before of the deviled eggs. I'm just gonna leave it for a few seconds so that you get a good chance to screenshot. Now, if you don't know how to screenshot, you can even look me up and ask, and I'd be more than happy to tell you how to use that feature on your computer. So, if you decide to watch, thanks. If you don't, well, I probably won't know that you didn't watch. This is a duplicate. And so I even had a business plan at the time, and I wasn't able to do it, but I also got a reference letter from Nick and Ella. I would like to introduce you to a star volunteer we have at Alderney Lunch Program, Clarice Winter. My name got cut off a little bit of printing, but she's been helping out with the program, and she brings a wealth of knowledge with her previous experience. She just moved to Spryfield and was wondering if there was a similar program in the neighborhood. CC'd to this email, and seriously is a star. We've been so lucky to have her. So I never actually managed to follow through with this because I got beat up in the parking lot, and then after that, mostly I didn't want to go outside anymore. I'm like, and you know what? No. Every time I go, something bad happens, and I kind of got stuck never wanting to go and do anything important. So, this is a waste of tax dollars, Justin Trudeau. The cop instigated me on purpose because she wanted to put me in jail again because I went to the Police Complaint Commission about her abusive behavior, which, by the way, has not been addressed by the courts as of today. So, I think what you should start doing is ordering the courts to complete their job. Like, you have a job to do. And if this person can claim that he suffers from PTSD so bad that he does not have to return to work, then I would propose the case get postponed until all the participants, all the other participants have been investigated correctly by people who are interested in justice and not just interested in keeping their paycheck. Okay, Justin? I know it's a lot for you in your big baby uniform. So this is when I was at Albert Lake. This is when I took the chef program. This was the menu, the first menu. Right? And I want to hold this up for you, but I also want to do it one at a time. But I'm going to do it this way in case you want to screenshot it. Hold on a second. So I designed this program in partnership with Mosh Housing First. I'm the Lynn voice of it. And an interesting thing I was told about Housing First, and apparently was actually put in place by the Progressive Conservative Party, which is interesting because it's more of a liberal idea, but it was the PCs who actually did it. Okay, so here is an updated version of I've altered the recipe slightly for my own taste, right? So this was my own recipe, but the original, of course. And this was a snack idea in 2013. Cream cheese, smoked salmon, parsley, and Ritz crackers. Living on the Ritz. Corned beef hash. And this is another thing that if you're running low on food and stuff and you're having a bunch of people, that can really give you some protein and stuff. So there's the fish cakes. Remember I told you I'd show you the recipe? So you see, this is this is done with PowerPoint. That was done with Google Docs. And there's the fries in color. Living color. Another day we'll do spices and stuff. And the only other two things I really wanted, or the other thing I really wanted to show you, even though I technically told you I was not putting any lunch things in there, or supper rather, cornbread. So this is a cornbread recipe. Remember I had the citation? Now the reason there's not a citation on this is because this is the one I use when I'm cooking. So I take it with me, and if need be, I wipe it off with sanitizer and then, or water, and then I can, if like food spills on it or something. So here is my spare rib recipe. Now, let me see if I've altered this. So this would be Parker's recipe, except the sweet and sour is mine. So there's two recipes in one on this. And one's for Parker and one's for me. Now, Parker is deceased, unfortunately. But I'm here to share that he shared the original recipe. And the alteration is for the sweet and sour. So that's the vinegar and the ketchup and brown sugar. And, of course, for a snack. And this, again, this is actually Parker's recipe, or Parker's wife. And we also used to put frosting on it. There's no frosting on this one, but there was later. And that's... Again, the reason there's no citation or whatever is because these are what I use. I carry them personally on me. Like, they're not to go in a cookbook. Those the laminated ones are for taking with me wherever I'm going to cook. And if I'm trying to share that with somebody who might not have the knowledge yet, it's about sharing the knowledge quickly with them in a comprehensive way where they don't have to stop and ask me questions if they don't want to. Apple pie. Canadians like pie. And for the pothead in your life, if you live in Canada, you have one somewhere. We have some weed, some shatter, some regular brownie mix, 1/4 cup of chocolate chips, 1 egg, and of course 1/4 cup of oil. That's all that it came. It was like one of them was McCain, or not McCain, but Betty Crocker. Betty Crocker's turn. It would be so great. So, in reality, I think that we're pretty close to done for now. Oh, that's a newer thing. Anyway, I'd like to get more organized later. Oh, there's the brown rice and vegetables I made for a side dish, because obviously you're not just eating the spare ribs, right? And look, told you we like pie. Christmas is coming. We like molasses cookies. And for the health freaks in your group, we have a spinach. Is it spinach or Swiss cheddar? Swiss cheddar and tuna wrap. I've also made it with chicken. Although I think I forgot to write in this recipe that there's actually tuna in there, but there is. Oh no, it says tuna. So So this was, I came up with a healthy way to deal with the tuna, although I still don't want a whole tuna diet there, Stephen Harper. So this is a ham and cheese croissant. Now the reason it's not shaped like a croissant is because it was really warm in my house and it popped out of its container and I had to re-roll it and it didn't take the same shape. And if you like yourself a chicken patty wrap, that's the kind of thing you could also eat for breakfast if you wanted. Certainly we already have them at places like McDonald's and Burger King and that. And just really easy omelet and your grapes and your regular traditional hash brown. Okay, well, I said I was done, didn't I? I'm not maybe that wasn't truthful. I think I believed it I was going to be done. Does that count? So I also learned how to make hummus. And then I've got like brown stock, mayonnaise, Caesar dressing, Italian vinaigrette, chicken gumbo, chicken salad sandwich, and all of that, of course, is part of your chef course. We might do just a section on that one day, and I'll cite everything. So, thank you, whoever you are who watches. Never sure who, but... So, I'm going to put all this away, but this is a breakdown of the Dignity Meals program. And the Dignity Meals program had the following on it. It provided 8 hours per month of employment at $15 an hour. It included menu creation, shopping, prep, and cooking. The monthly food budget was $150. The in-kind kitchen, so that means they let you use the kitchen, was free by North End Community Health Center. Incidentals, transportation, was $40, and the total budget was $310. So I'd like to go back to this. I'm going to scan it this time. Okay, so that's kind of my idea on why skilled trade could be beneficial, and also accountability of the government. So the government, if the government understood algebra, then it would have noticed the, I see what's going on here. It would have noticed the extreme amount of people being murdered. Like, it should have been able to notice using a mathematical formula without any special agency. It should have been a mathematical formula. Like, a lot of people do puzzles all the time and stuff. Like, it should have been evident. So I'm wondering what was going through the government's head, and how can we get back, never mind what was going through their head, but what are we willing to do to fix it? It's a much better question at this point. Like, okay, we'll admit the government are not efficient. How can we get them efficient enough and following the SMART goal format, which stands for specific, measurable, attainable, and timely? That's how we want to see our government run. We don't want to see you guys all have a little fight like a bunch of little kids. Please learn to get along. What?